Hey everyone, Scott Cunningham, aka Scott's Business. Today we're going to be talking about the YouTube demonetization words blacklist. And the reason that this is so important right now is because while yes, it may start with demonetization, which isn't a problem for someone like me because I'm not even monetized, it won't end with demonetization. We've already seen people like Tim Pool being taken off of recommendations and suggested videos. We've seen people like Steven Crowder, one of the biggest conservative late night talk shows, if not the biggest, being taken off of search results within the US. It's very, very interesting. And again, the point being that I don't think that this will stop with just demonetization. But at the very least, we do have access to a list of blacklisted words that have been rigorously tested by a lot of different people within titles, as well as sometimes with tags. But typically it is regarding the title. But again, it can also affect the tags that you use. So keep this in mind. And also very interestingly, there's been with this report releasing, a lot of people have now realized that the LGBTQ community is actually being targeted by YouTube after very recently there was a whole issue with the Vox Adpocalypse with Steven Crowder's channel selling offensive merchandise towards that was offensive towards homosexuals. It really wasn't, and that's why there was no actual legal action taken, or they weren't actually shut down. But the point being that not very long ago, they were going after people for being offensive. And now here they are suppressing all of that, like that whole community, and not allowing them to have monetization anymore based on what they use in their titles and in their tags. So it's very, very interesting. And keep in mind, what I'm about to show you is going to consist of a lot of really offensive words. Because obviously there's going to be a lot of words that make sense that they're not allowed to be used, whereas we're looking for the ones that probably shouldn't be demonetizable, but this is going to illustrate what we're talking about here. So prepare yourself, and hopefully this doesn't affect my channel for showing these words on screen. Things like abortion, 911, abuse. Sometimes these things make sense. Depending on the context, right? Like if you're putting up a video of abusing animals, it would make sense that it would be taken down. Whereas sometimes it totally doesn't make sense, right? Like again, context matters, but accuse is okay, whereas accused with a D is not okay. So it's very weird. Activated is okay, but activation is not. It's very, very interesting the way that the machine learning works. And again, using Adolf Hitler will get your video demonetized. But there's a lot of history channels that are getting hit, and they put in a lot of money and investment into making really quality, good educational videos. And when they can't even mention the name of the opposition for World War II, the leader of the opposition, it's like, how can you accurately depict history? AF, just the letters A and F will get your video demonetized. Mentioning Afghanistan, just the letters A and G next to each other. The list goes on and on and on, and obviously there's much more offensive ones on this list. Alcoholic, alert. See, here's what makes it weird though. Alcoholic. Why would alcoholic be bad? No one's going to be promoting being alcoholic as a good thing. Likely, you're going to see a video about Alcoholics Anonymous, or, beating that addiction. It's not going to be so much. It's not like you're going to see promoting it. So it's odd that alcoholics with an S or alcoholism are okay. Again, alert is not okay, whereas alerts with an S is okay. So it's very, very interesting, and I've included this as well as some other great resources in the description for you guys to check out. We're going to take a look now at the demonetization report. And this was a great report. They went over 15,000 words of demonetized versus monetized title keywords. So for this, it is really mainly focusing on the title, but there's instances where it can affect tags as well. And there was also a report in July that you can get linked through here as well. So basically, there is like a spectrum, and all the words get rated, assumably, like just to illustrate it for us. We're not totally sure, obviously, how the machine does it. But if you use a word like friend, that is the least concerning type of word you could use. You could use the word eat, and that is already halfway up the spectrum because there's so many offensive things that could come after that. Whereas like the F word is right at the top of the spectrum. And it's very interesting because further down in this report here, it'll actually explain to you. Well, here we'll get there in a sec. There's also a lot of outliers, right? Where something like restaurant, ebooks, the word you, programs, sunglasses, then, there, that, these, stare, SQL database, images, photos, cameras, hotel, Expedia, different LGBTQ words, farm, farming, kilometer, profit, tickets, and tourism. These are just some examples of demonetizable words. Very odd outliers. And they do list here that words like woman, gay, lesbian, Democrat, liberal could just be negatively charged based on the political commentary of those words, not being advertiser friendly, rather than someone who is a woman or gay or lesbian or Democrat or liberal. So, that's something to consider. But regardless, at the end of the day, if you're going to use that in your title, it's probably going to get demonetized. And this is really important for creators, especially in the LGBTQ community. And I just find it really interesting because they're the ones who led the charge on the Vox Adpocalypse issue. And now, very soon after, we see them being the ones who are being targeted by YouTube. Because if we've learned anything from history, with these socialistic ideals, they'll always go for you. Even if you helped them get to where they got to, they will eventually come for you. You're never safe from it. Regardless if you made it happen, if you were on the good guys' side, quote unquote, eventually they will come for you as well. And there's weird things like certain companies and products are demonetized. PayPal, Hotel, Expedia, WordPress, Dell, Shrek. It's very, very odd. And other trends are like programming terms, database, SQL, program, HTTP, XML, username, password. You would expect that would be okay. And a lot of hacking videos are getting taken down because of this. Like even white hat hacking. Like myself, I went to school for networking and IT security. So that would be a very common thing for people in our space to be talking about these terms in a white hat hacker sense. You can also see, I thought it was kind of ironic that they used a Google document to list this. Seemed like an odd choice, but regardless. And here they explain how the LGBTQ testing showed how, they could be using these words and they would get demonetized. But if they replace them with, like, say, happy, for example, one of the very, very low concern risk words, as we talked about the spectrum earlier, then they're all remonetized and it's fine. And it's very, very odd that they seem to be targeting these people and that community. And they did say, we don't have a list of words, we just have machine learning. But the bottom line is that the machine learning is going off of these words. Almost like the majority of the time, it is demonetizing these words. So regardless if you actually have, some big list where you're all like adding to it or not, the machine learning algorithms are still making their own list, regardless if you actually acknowledge it or not. I just think they're obfuscating the information and they don't want to be transparent. Another thing that's really interesting and important to note is when you advertise on Google, right? They give you 3 different options. And expanded inventory means you'll be allowed to go on videos that would otherwise get demonetized because of excessive profanity, sexual content, or serious violence. But again, I think a huge issue with this whole thing is how over exaggerated these are, right? Even in limited inventory, they say moderate profanity and moderate sexually suggestive content. But realistically, when you actually get into the nitty gritty, you can see that, even if, oh yeah, here it is. In the limited inventory. So if you wanted to be at the very top of, the monetization queue, the best that you could possibly do, avoiding everything, censoring yourself to no end, you can't swear. Even a single thing like damn or hell could potentially get you kicked out of this. And it's really interesting because even if you bleep out words, I can't remember where that was in here, but it actually said, like, even if you swore and you bleeped out every single time, it would still end up being considered moderate profanity and sometimes even strong profanity. Even if it's, it's comedy, you're bleeping out the words, even still, it might still be considered, too much. And it's very interesting that would happen. For example, like this was one example that they talked about because they were shirtless and they got in trouble for this, and they didn't make money off of this video because it was considered too racy. And maybe adult content. And there's many, many examples of this. I've listed some other things in the description for you guys to check out, but it's very interesting when they're not disclosing any of this information and everyone else is trying to catch up and they don't know what they can or can't do because it's changing all the time, as well as they claim that there is no keyword list when there in fact is something going on, whether or not they want to admit it or whether or not they actually check the bias of the machine learning algorithms. There's either negligence or malice, and either way, it's not good for the users, the advertisers. Maybe this is what the advertisers want, and maybe this is why it's happening. But even helping, being a social media marketer myself, even helping companies do their advertising, this is a very big mislead, because you would assume that everyone would just go with limited inventory, because why risk it, right? Because they make this seem so bad when realistically a lot of the things in the standard inventory probably aren't really that bad at all, even in the expanded inventory. But they're being very extreme with the way that they are biasing, applying their bias to these different videos. And it's very, very odd. As I said before, previously, they were championing the LGBTQ community and they were going against channels that were, playing jokes against them. And as we all know, again, the Vox adpocalypse had a massive impact on this. And yet, very soon after, here we see they're being demonetized as well. So let me know what you guys think about this. I think this is extremely, extremely important. This just came out a couple days ago, so I wanted to jump in and make sure my viewers were aware and give my take on what's going on. Let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think this is going to get worse? Is it going to get better? What is your take on this? Let me know in the comments below. And if you watched to the very end, make sure to comment ##1ham so I know that you watched to the very end and you didn't just read the title. And leave your comments, because I'm sure everyone wants to know, what's going on. We want to hear from you. And And you know, maybe you can give us some better examples and other reports similar to this. I also highly recommend going and supporting the guy who is updating this and running this, so that he has so that he's able to put more time to it. Because if people are sending him money, then, you know, he's able to put more time and more efforts, and maybe hire other people to help with this. So definitely consider that as well. Anyways, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scott's Business. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Cheers.